Biopic, a term derived from the combination of the words biography and pictures. They are films that depict and dramatize the life or a chapter in life of an important historical personage or group from the past or present era. Oftentimes, historical biopics stretch the truth and tell a life story with varying degrees of accuracy, and historically speaking, landing a role in a biopic is surefire Oscar bait. Today on DG Live, we're going to be discussing some of our favorite biopics ever. Joining us once again is Graham Zielinski. Welcome back to DG Live.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ready to talk about some biopics?
Absolutely.
And also joining us for the second time, Mitchell Perera. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So one of the first questions that I wanted to bring up with you guys was what you guys feel makes for a good biopic. You can take into consideration subject matter or historical accuracy or the physical traits of the actor portraying that historical figure. What are your guys' thoughts?
You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go. I think for me, what makes a good biopic is when the film itself embodies the person who the film is about.
Right.
And a great example of that is Ed Wood.
Okay.
The biopic about the terrible
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp,
Yeah.
with directed by Tim Burton.
Yeah.
It's awesome because the film itself, in a sense, almost becomes an Ed Wood film.
Okay.
And the way it's made, and I think
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
when the film itself becomes an embodiment of the person that they're telling their story, I think that's what really makes a good biopic for me, as opposed to just setting up some cameras and telling a story. Like when it becomes that person, I love it.
Graham, what are your thoughts?
I would actually completely agree with that and take it a step further by saying, you have these movies that are about these people and their lives, and to be able to get a better sense of what they were going through and the environment and the history and the lives that they had outside of what you see on the camera. You always will have films in general being about making that main character a hero at the end of the day, and we've talked about how sometimes they don't always tell the complete truth. They leave out certain things to still make you root for this character, but at the end of the day, I really appreciate any film or biopic that really makes you understand these characters, to see where they come from and to know their lives, and possibly a moral to the story, a moral to their lives that transcends, that makes them great on a larger scale.
So one of the things that I guess does it for me as far as a good biopic, the content, the subject matter, whose story are you telling? Because depending on who you want to talk about, it's going to matter to some people more than others, right? Take Straight Outta Compton, for example. NWA, one of those influential, rap groups in music history. There's a certain crowd and demographic that's going to want to see that. Others, not so much. Take another movie like Lincoln, directed by Steven Spielberg, Daniel Day-Lewis. His history buffs are going to want to see that. Any fan of Spielberg is going to want to see that. I tried watching it. It bored the shit out of me.
I'll agree. That movie was very boring to me.
Very boring. Couldn't get into it.
A boring movie, but you have to pay respects on how much detail went into that film to make it so great as a biopic.
And of course, Daniel Day-Lewis knocked it out of the park, as
Oscar
pretty much
win.
but like he's always going to do. And there's so many. Legend with Tom Hardy. I don't know if you guys saw that about the Cray twins. That's another thing. Another thing to take into consideration is the people you're telling the story about, sirs, because there's people who've been on the right side of history and the wrong side. Johnny Depp in Black Mass playing a gangster. The Cray twins from Legend. Gangster movies. So another aspect that I wanted to talk about was the physical traits. A lot of people can sometimes get hung up on whenever you bring on an actor to play somebody, how similar they look. Sometimes it's pretty spot on, other times not so much. For me personally, I don't really care if the actor brought on looks exactly like the historical person that they're playing, like Denzel Washington in American Gangster. They don't quite look similar, but dude's a good actor. So I personally would like to sacrifice, the looks department for a good actor.
It is nice though when they do have that resemblance.
It's not, are you saying it's nice when they have the resemblance, or nice when it's both? Good acting, because it's not always.
It's
the
always
same.
going to be great if they have great acting and they look similar to the characters. But when we go back to history, I know for one, I won't mention one that's on my list, but Changeling with Angelina Jolie.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a movie where you kind of get a skewed perception of exactly what's the truth. Angelina Jolie is a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
The woman that was supposed to be, the mother for Changeling was described as not a very attractive woman. And so to have that, you kind of want, you kind of almost debate like, could she have maybe received more help if she really looked like Angelina Jolie?
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I think a great testament to what you're saying is Charlize Theron in Monster.
Okay.
I don't know if y'all have seen that, but obviously Charlize Theron, beautiful, beautiful actress, and she is grimy in Monster. She looks nasty.
So it's kind of like the opposite.
And it's I think I agree with you. I think it's never a problem to cast good talent because good talent can always give you a good performance, and physical stuff can be changed with wardrobe and makeup and stuff like that. So I think
because I will give you a good example when it didn't work. I don't know if you guys remember Notorious, the life story of Notorious B.I.G. Like came out in like 2009. The guy that got to play him, I don't even know the dude's name. He looked a lot like Biggie Smalls, but he wasn't a good actor, and it ended up, blowing up in their faces and not being so great. So. I mean, the second question that I want to bring up with you guys, let's use an example like things like John Wayne as Genghis Khan, or Elizabeth Taylor as Cleopatra. My question for you guys, is it a Hollywood excuse for its time, or something that you guys still think is pretty prevalent? Because when you look back on it, it's kind of absurd.
Yeah, I think we're right there at that thin line. It's really somebody needs to come out and tip the scale. You have movies like Slumdog Millionaire.
Right.
Phenomenal movie that really takes a character of that culture and has the story. Life of Pi, another one. It's fitting of that, rather than having to cast someone that's just a big name actor. I know the biggest controversy in recent times is the one with Christian Bale and
Exodus, Gods of Egypt.
And
white actors playing
one of the
Egyptians.
things he was defending himself with is to say that I needed these big name actors to bring people into the theaters to get the budget we needed to make the film. And so it really is that rocky scale. Could you still have an incredible movie with actors that are supposed to be more fitting to the look and everything like that?
Yeah.
Or are we still going out for these movies because of actors? I know that we did a podcast, visual one with Johnny Depp in mind, and that's another thing. We love these actors. I think that does draw a bit of us to come to see these movies. But in the scheme of things, if they are biopics or we are trying to be historically somewhat accurate, shouldn't we make the attempt to really find good actors of that fitting look?
Okay.
I think I see the point. It is a rocky question because. You have to take into consideration that people like us are the 1%. We're the people who really pay attention to movies and really get into it. Most people just go to movies.
Yeah.
And most people, they see, Christian Bale, I'm gonna go see that.
Yeah.
So I can see it in a sense of that, and there's also a bit of just who's the best person to play the part. Daniel Day-Lewis in Lincoln. He's a British person.
Well, yeah.
And he's playing a predominantly one of the greatest American figures in our country's history.
But Daniel Day-Lewis and Lincoln were both white. We're talking about, American John Wayne playing Genghis Khan.
Well, if we're going with race, then I think it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. It's something that if you can't find a good Indian person to play the part, then and you find
they're out there. They're definitely out there.
I know, there definitely are out there. It just comes down to the point in the casting, who's the best person to play the part. And if you couldn't find that person of that particular skin tone or whatever it is, then maybe you can go out and cast someone else. But when it's something like Exodus, I think that's blatantly just going out of your way to cast every possible person you can.
Or this newest one that recently came out, Gods of Egypt.
Yeah.
With Scottish Gerard Butler
I
playing
would argue, though, that Exodus should have been selected, more precisely.
Yeah.
Gods and
John Turturro
of Egypt
really?
or whatever.
Yeah. When it gets
I
to
can
stuff like
understand
that,
it being offensive, but at the same time, that's a more of an action flick that's going to be more about the actors who are involved.
Right,
in it.
Because I watched the movie, and you know what, I took it with the grainest. I just watched. I turned my brain off, and not Gods of Egypt, Exodus.
Okay, Exodus.
With Christian Bale and Joel Edgerton.
Yeah.
Good movie. I turned my brain off for it, but.
But when you're trying to embody these characters, I feel like you still owe them a bit. With something like this Egyptian movie, it's really kind of just, it's an action flick.
Yeah.
It's who's in the movie. yes, with practical effects and makeup, maybe they should have gone out of their way to try and make these characters look a little better, look a little more fitting. Another great example, I'm not sure if it's on my list, but to call a shout out to is Gandhi.
Yeah, played by Ben Kingsley,
which is
playing an Indian guy.
You know, not necessarily, he doesn't, I mean, he passes. When you watch that movie, he looks like Gandhi.
Yeah, when you put the makeup
he's
and
not
such.
someone that, without those makeup and everything like that, strikes you as, oh, that's Gandhi. You know?
Yeah.
They did a good job making him fill that role.
I got you.
He won an Oscar for that, didn't he?
I believe, yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So before we get into our actual list of our favorite biopics, we're going to take a quick commercial break. So now that we're back, we're going to start talking about our favorite biopics. First of all, for me, personally, probably my favorite of all time, Ray from 2004, starring Jamie Foxx and Kerry Washington. It was an Oscar winner for Jamie Foxx for Best Actor, and I think it was very well deserved. The reason I like it so much is it showed, I guess, the human side of Ray Charles, all of the bad things that he did, the infidelity and the drug use, along with all of the great, amazing things that he did as well. One of the greatest musical geniuses ever. Have you guys seen Ray, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yes.
Jamie Foxx is a power player, man.
Yeah.
And him stepping into that role, he nailed it.
You nailed it, right? It was great. And once again, kind of looked like him a little.
Yeah, I mean, they did a good job of
Yeah.
even if he didn't look like him, they still made an attempt to try and draw those features out.
And also going back to the acting itself, and not even words or anything, he embodied that character with his mannerisms, and I think that
nailed it.
Yeah, that goes into the character, embodying the character, and he did an awesome job of that.
So yeah, Ray, definitely one of my favorites of all time. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I know for a fact that if I watch it again, it's going to hold up. I've seen it quite a bit, and I just love this movie so much. Very well told, also, but well directed, and just look at him go. Like look at him. So
yeah, even we were just watching the screen. When he kind of does the head tilting back. I mean, he grabs the mannerisms and plays off those too, and it's incredible.
So Graham, what's the first movie on your list you want to talk about?
So my first movie, and I would argue that this is not just a great biopic, but a great testament to time and that era and everything. My first movie is Schindler's List.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Phenomenal movie. Tells the story of not just one specific person and his journey. It talks about the entire Jewish community that he saved, past, and even the kids today, what they went through afterwards. And it really goes back to telling about that time period.
Right.
Showing you really, these people didn't just have a marker in history for no reason.
Right.
They went through just a terrible series of events and everything. And to see that in that movie, I think helps us to really better understand that character.
Absolutely.
That it's based around. And to take it a step further and really give a moral lesson for us to say, hey, we're not just telling you a story about a simple guy who lived a life and whatever. We're telling you this story to hopefully show you what this guy's learned, what this guy's been through, and instill in future generations to have this mentality.
Okay. What about you, Mitch? What's your first movie?
My favorite biopic, a little recent pick, but The Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay.
I think that's one of my favorite movies of all time, and by extension, one of my favorite biopics of all time. I think it's awesome. What I love the most about The Wolf of Wall Street is most films, to tell you a message, they show you a good person doing good things and tell you to inspire to be that good person.
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall Street, they showed you terrible, god-awful people doing ridiculous, terrible things, and you as the viewer kind of have to interpret that your own way and be like, yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be people like this. Like, this isn't the kind of people.
This isn't the kind of lifestyle we should be, condoning.
Yeah, and it's a hard line because it doesn't just outright say these people are bad, and it kind of separates people of like, well, what do you think? Because some people might even think, well, wow, this is fun. I want to live like this, but you got to be intelligent and think this isn't how we should be living. Yeah. And it shows how that kind of lifestyle really can just bring you in and be like, yeah, I kind of want to do this. This sounds like a fun life, but you got to realize it's not what you should do. And I love that movie.
I think that's also a very good type of biopic now, is this kind of anti-hero. Somewhat of a biopic for television, of course, was The Breaking Bad, Walter White.
Yeah.
Based around a true guy. And these kind of stories are really gripping people. They like these anti-heroes. So I'd be curious to find out what direction biopics are going to go based off that. So.
Absolutely. So the next one that I want to talk about, I've only seen it recently, but it stars like one of my favorite actors ever right now, Tom Hardy, Legend. And the thing that's fascinating about this movie is that he plays himself and also his twin brother, and he does a great job of making each character so different from the other, if that makes sense. Because it tells the story of the Cray twins who ran I guess the organized crime in London during the '60s, and it was so fabulously well told through the eyes of his wife, played by Emily Browning, who you probably remember from Lemony Snicket's series of unfortunate events. She was Violet, but I thought it was well told, well acted by Tom Hardy. If you're a fan of his, definitely worth checking out just for his acting alone. You've seen it
in The Revenant and everything else. I mean, he's another power player.
Right. So. Especially, yes, he's definitely been coming up a lot on his own. You've seen Legend?
I have not yet.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out.
Definitely on my list though.
Have you seen it?
I've seen it. Yeah, I saw it once a while ago. It was good. I really enjoyed that film. Like you said, he did a phenomenal job of differentiating the two roles that he played, and I think that's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think it was awesome. I love that movie.
Graham, what you got next?
Number 2 for me is Beautiful Mind.
Okay.
Russell Crowe. Another movie that, as a biopic, it puts you in his head. It doesn't just show you the story of this guy who was believed to be crazy, suffering, and whatnot. I mean, they really do a good job of showing you what he saw, giving you those characters, letting his life kind of go out of control in a believable way too. You follow this film, and you kind of go right along with it. You go along whatever story he's imagining until reality pulls him back, and it pulls you as an audience member back too, and going, oh wow, that wasn't real.
Yeah.
Like, it really puts you in his head, and it tells an unbelievable story. And I think Russell Crowe.
This is the part where I shamefully say I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
I've never seen it. I say it yet like I'm going to. I mean, I probably will. I've heard great things about it for like the past freaking 13 years that it's been out. So, Mitch, what you got next?
My next one is a little weird pick, but I love this movie and I want to get it out there. Blow with Johnny Depp.
Oh yeah, definitely.
A lot of people don't like that film. It has like a 50 on Rotten Tomatoes. But I loved that movie, and it was
it's really good.
It was another kind of. Notice how both of my picks have cocaine in it. But, it's just another example of like embodying who that person was and just showing their life. The characters were phenomenal, the rich characters that you can fall in love with. And
yeah, Johnny Depp's character was heartbreaking. George Young, yeah?
Yeah, George Young, yeah.
Yeah, heartbreaking character.
Just recently got released from prison in real life, like a few years ago.
So sad, man.
But I love that. Pee Wee Herman's character, I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy who plays Pee Wee Herman, his character in the film was awesome. I think Blow is a phenomenal biopic.
The next one that I want to talk about, American Sniper, with Bradley Cooper, directed by Clint Eastwood. Also has Sienna Miller. I thought it was a well-directed, well-told story, pretty entertaining. I love the fact that it's based on a true story. Chris Kyle, most deadliest sniper in freaking U.S. military history. So, have you guys seen it?
Yes.
My family read the book.
Okay.
All about his life, and I remember after the movie came out, just the controversy that surrounded that film. A lot of people kind of getting upset with either the true nature of that story, really what they say and what they do, and also, kind of the practical and I guess the actual production elements of the film bothered some people. I guess there were some scenes that just didn't come across very real, and that kind of upset a few people.
Okay. What's next for you, Mitch?
Next for me is gonna have to be Milk. The life story of Harvey Milk.
Sean Penn, Josh Brolin.
Yes, directed by Gus Van Sant. Who Gus Van Sant is a hit or miss for me. He's not one of those directors I'm just like, oh, it's a Gus Van Sant movie, I'm gonna go see it. But this one was really good, really solid. I loved it. It really had me invested into the story and just shed light on a huge subject in America that doesn't get a lot of mainstream kind of recognition, I don't feel like. And
so good.
And it's a beautifully made movie. Sean Penn, I think, even won an Oscar for that.
I think he did get it for
yeah.
Because it was between him and Mickey Rourke that year for The Wrestler.
Yeah, for The Wrestler. And that's an awesome movie. The Wrestler is an awesome movie. I just watched that the other day
for the first time. Oh yeah.
Yeah, really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah. The next one that I want to talk about is Patton. Okay. George C. Scott, so like from 1970. It actually got him another movie to get someone the Best Actor nod. Have either of you seen it?
I've seen clips of Patton.
You've seen clips of it?
The entirety of it.
It runs kind of long, but it's definitely worth checking out. I think it's in my top 10 movies of all time, just because of the subject matter. I'll watch anything with George C. Scott. He's one of my favorite actors ever. You know, he's been in The Hustler and a whole bunch of other stuff. But definitely, Patton tells the story of General George Patton and his time. You know, his unconventional technique during World War II. He had quite the reputation under his belt. So, if I would definitely recommend it for both of you guys.
I have actually seen it.
Oh yeah, you've seen it. Okay,
it's great.
Yeah, it is great, right? So, what's next for you, man?
My third is Patch Adams. Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Somebody who, I mean, his dramatic roles are already incredible, and then to see him take on Patch Adams, he was the perfect choice for that movie.
Okay, I've never seen that one either.
Well, give you a little insight. He plays a doctor or a medical student who's trying to become a doctor, and how he doesn't necessarily agree with all of the things that the medical profession of the time was doing. He started his own hospital, and you know, the movie just follows his life. It also follows his train of thought. It follows the hardships. It follows, you know, the outside view of what other people thought of him, and it's an incredible movie. I love Robin Williams. To me, I couldn't pick a better third. I think that's going to stay there for a long time. I love that film. So,
Mitch.
For me, another movie from the year 2013, which I think is one of the greatest years of movies in recent times, 12 Years a Slave.
Okay.
Enjoyed that movie so much. It is, I'm not the kind of person who really gets like emotionally impacted by films. I just kind of watch them for the story. But that film just, I couldn't stop thinking about it for days. It's awesome. Obviously the story of Solomon Northup.
Yep.
Northrop, or exactly.
Northrop, I think is
Northrop, okay. Awesome movie, swept the Oscars a few years ago, and I think it really told a really impassioned story that needs to be seen.
Okay. I'd have to agree with you. 12 Years a Slave, easily one of the best movies of that year. It's pretty much acting masterclass. I love the class. I love the cast, you know, from that movie.
Yes.
So the next one I want to talk about is Bronson, another Tom Hardy.
Love Bronson.
Yeah, another Tom Hardy. Directed by Nicholas Winding Refn. Tells the story of you know, Michael Peterson. Like he spends his, you know, basically this entire part of his adult life mostly in prison, but also in between the insane asylums as well. And Tom Hardy, probably his best performance ever. Yeah. I'd say Revenant is a close second, but yeah, there he is, Tom Hardy playing Charles Bronson, and it's an acquired taste. I wouldn't say it's for everybody, but I think that's because of Nicholas Winding Refn. That's all of his movies.
I just wanted to, I wanted to say how awesome Nicholas Winding Refn is. I love him. He doesn't get as much recognition as he deserves.
Yeah.
And the cinematography in his film, I don't exactly know who his cinematographer is, but
he jumps around.
Yeah, but it is beautiful, his movies, and I love this movie.
Graham, what you got?
I believe I'm on the fourth one now.
Yeah.
Is King's Speech.
Okay, yeah.
I love that movie. For a movie that would typically be kind of a slow-paced movie, not a lot going on, it's incredible to see what they did with the film. They got, you know, what he went through. They got the time, the era, how important it was for this man to make the speech, and to see that, you know, that tension just build, just waiting for You know, is he going to make it? Is he going to mess up during a time of war? What a phenomenal movie. I loved it.
I actually own that on DVD, and I bought it like years ago, and I've still yet to actually sit down and watch the full way through, but I will eventually. It's been on my watch list for quite some time. Mitch, have you seen it?
I have not seen it, no.
Okay. So are we on you now again?
I think we're on me.
Okay.
Mine is the most recent Steve Jobs movie.
Oh, yeah.
I just got a chance to check that out a few months ago when it came out, and it's ridiculously amazing. I love the take, because I really enjoy these new biopics that people are starting to do lately, where it's not the entirety of someone's life. It's
the most important part of their life.
And the way this new Steve Jobs movie was, it showed behind the scenes, the backstage of the 3 biggest launches in Apple's career, and as well as Steve Jobs' career. And I thought it was awesome, fast-paced. Another example of a movie that really embodies the person and just the rapid pace of what I would assume Steve Jobs' brain was. Great performance by Michael Fassbender. He doesn't really look the part. He doesn't exactly look like Steve Jobs, but he articulates.
Good actor.
And
close enough.
And Oscar nomination for that as well. Like you said, biopics are.
They get that Oscar bait,
for Oscar, yeah. I think Steve Jobs is awesome. Have you guys seen it yet?
I have not.
I have not seen that one, but that leads me into a tiebreaker that I have for my number 5, which is the Steve Jobs movie, but not actually the Michael Fassbender one. I haven't seen that yet. Mine's actually the Ashton Kutcher one. I like it for a reason. I like it because he looks the character. I like the fact that, you know, of course, you're so used to Ashton Kutcher kind of being the hippie role.
Okay.
And then to literally start with that, to start his college life, to kind of see that, and then the drastic change that we get of this isn't Ashton Kutcher anymore, this isn't Steve Jobs anymore, it's suddenly a totally different person. I really like the film.
So the next movie I want to talk about before we go to our next commercial break is Dallas Buyers Club.
Phenomenal movie.
Matthew McConaughey, Jared Leto.
2013 again.
2013 again. Best actor and best supporting actor, which just proves the point even further. Well-told story, well acted all around. You guys have both seen it, yeah?
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Jared Leto in it. Amazing.
Amazing, right?
Yeah. Love that film.
So we're going to go to our next commercial break. This is Supernova, courtesy of Raphael Malloret. So that about wraps up this installment of Defiant Giant Live. I want to thank Graham and Mitch for joining us once again. I think Graham wanted to spitball just a couple before
Just a few if I can. You know, I know that I saw some
titles for honorable mention.
I know Raging Bull is one.
Yeah.
Malcolm X, another phenomenal one.
American
Social
Gangster.
Network, Gandhi, Unstoppable, 13 Hours.
Yeah.
You have The Patriot, Rain Man, and Warrior.
Yeah.
All phenomenal, but my 5th choice was Theory of Everything.
Okay.
Another phenomenal one that I really like.
So thanks for watching this installment of Defiant Giant Live. Be sure to follow all of our social media, which you can find at thebigdg.com. This has been The Art of the Biopic. Thanks for watching.